Mm. Welcome back, everyone, to Service to the Sacred Summit. I am so grateful to be here with Achintya Devi. And Achintya is the founder of the Goddess Rising Sisterhood, the global sisterhood and school of women's wisdom and moon mysteries. She is dedicated to activating and empowering the wild sacred feminine within women worldwide through the Moon Priestess trainings and leadership certifications, wild sacred women's retreats, a Her Story Rising publication, and an online global Moon Sisters Temple. Thank you so much, Achintya. Thank you for being here.
It is such an honor to be here with you and to all of us that are here really devoted to serving the sacred. So thank you for having me, Karen.
You're so welcome. And I am loving the blooming symbol behind you. This this gathering or these connections are about sharing who I perceive as blooming femme leaders. And what's coming up for me is that, you know, we're always blooming, we're always changing, and we're always coming into new expressions of service to the sacred, however big or small that is. So please share with us a little bit about what that means to you, service to the sacred. How is that showing up for you in your life lately?
I love that. It's interesting you say lately. So, wow, I feel like what a deep and profound question that is, service to the sacred. I mean, this is really, for me, I actually feel it's at the very core of my life. And I feel it's why I chose to incarnate and take birth at this time on the planet. And it's my belief that those of us that are here in this summit and are drawn to this energy are really here to serve the sacred as well. So I think it's important then to define what sacred is. You know, if we're going to serve the sacred, what is that? And wow, what a question that is, how deep that is. And it feels for me, and what's alive in my heart right now is the sacred is the heart. The sacred is creation. The sacred is all that is offered from Great Spirit, from God, Goddess. This life being sacred, these body temples of ours being sacred, the soul that lives inside of these body temples. I mean, this is holy and sacred love made manifest, and that's us. And so it feels like, to really serve the sacred can look so different for each of us. And I feel that, it's, I guess what wants to come forward is that each of us have these hearts, have these souls, and when we have connection and deep intimacy to that which moves our soul, that which moves our heart, there's a profound experience that lives in the language of our hearts beyond these words that, is our truth, that we know to be real and holy, and it's why we're here. And so that's what comes alive for, what is sacred. And so service to that, for me, that is service to love. So I feel that that's what I'm here to do. That's how my heart is wishing to express itself in this life, is to serve love. And for me personally, that's come through in my specific, body and passions and soul and, dharma, have you well, that I am here to serve the goddess. I'm here to serve sacred union. I'm here to serve women. So it's really looking like that service is to bring the guidance of the remembrance of this wild and sacred feminine essence inside of women forward into greater appreciation and remembrance, all the places that we as women, as sisters around the world have that we've discarded, or that we have exiled, that we have forgotten. and that truly at this time on the planet, it's such an important time to bring those pieces that we have forgotten, that have been exiled, and remember them. And because they're really needed and important right now. And this can be from, you know, our passions and our power and our truth and our gifts. It's my belief that, you know, this service to the sacred is so much greater than just one of us. It's really our collective awakening right now. And that and this is a huge piece of my sharing as well with women, is that, you know, if we're serving the sacred and say sacred feminine, that part of that journey is also removing ourselves from isolation and coming back into unification.
Mm.
That we have been taught by society and the imprinting globally to in that separation, to have comparison with other women, to have where there can be jealousy, where there is competition. And these are all parts of, you know, those exiled elements of ourselves that have wisdom for us to return to really return to the heart. And that, yes, sisterhood is so sacred. It's so important right now that each of our gifts come to fruition when they're really stemming from the heart place to serve, so that, you know, I can support you and what you're here to do, and I can celebrate you, and I understand that you, as, you know, a sister, goes through your tribulations and your celebrations, and that you can have that same compassion for me and for our other sisters, and that we really move forward into another dimension of the heart to encompass this celebration. So that what feels really alive and at the core of, you know, the this momentum to really activate and serve the sacred. And the other part that's blooming at this time is also that my beloved partner Shems and I, um, we also feel this great calling where I am sharing, you know, with our sisters, one of his big um, places of his dharma on the planet is really the waking up and the rising of the masculine, for men to show up, for men to wake up and really rise in their gifts, and the masculine that is the truth, that is not, you know, that which has been taught through patriarchy. And so with this, in our love and in our union and in our connection, we're birthing forth this year our empowered loving offering. So this is really the beginning of a whole other era to bring in, you know, gender alchemy and gender reconciliation and healing of the separation of this, you know, great wound. So this, you know, great wound of separation, whether it's, you know, with sisters or with men, women, or with spirit, you know, it's coming back to union.
Yeah.
And so that's what's really alive. These aspects that are coming forward in the specifics.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. I didn't know that you were working on that. I'm really excited to see what you and Shems are coming up with. It's beautiful. What is kind of coming up a lot in these interviews is how much the individual and the uh, communal or like close relationships are critical to the overarching birth of, you know, or bridging of heaven on earth. So I think with like, tell me how you manage that teaching of the personal relationships and the individual self-care. How do you connect that with a global sisterhood? So how is the micro and the macro kind of going together for you?
Mm. Well, one of the things that feels really alive for me right now is that my dear sister, I have a dear sister and collaboratress, Joanna Maya. And so her and I are co-facilitators of Priestesses of the Moon,
Mm.
which, you know, we're moving forward into our fourth year sharing this together. And our relationship is one that is both of dear sister heart connection, that we really are here in friendship and in devotion to each other's service in the world. And it's been very, very clearly shown to us that, it's through our collaboration together that we bring forward our combined offerings to serve. And so I think that this really symbolizes this macro or this micro, is that, there are aspects to what she brings that I don't bring. There's aspects that I bring that she doesn't bring, and together through our combined hearts gifts and our unique wisdom and our trainings, that we create something that is so much greater than perhaps just one of us. And so that is another form of, of the sacred, of being in that sacred relationship, and where we have, there's that term sort of that, when we call in spirit, when there is two or more of us, that we call forth the third, that sacred spirit, that Holy Trinity. And so when her and I work together, if that's the word work, how we, there's a lot of other words, I guess, that could be shared with that, is to collaborate and to create together, is that we really work with that place of being open and guided by that third, by that element of the Trinity of the sacred to come forward within us. So we're collaborating, and and so it's a creative energy in and of itself. And so I feel that when we bring, that example to the macro, it's when we really turn to another and we can bow down and celebrate and honor and lift that person up and give them space to shine and allow for their gifts to come through, still feeling, whole and sovereign in our own selves. There's no need to really try and outshine somebody else, or that we don't have anything to offer, or, that whole hierarchical ladder. And so we come into this, sacred reflection of, I am another you, you are another me, in different expressions. And so when we can bring that to the macro, that looks like each and every one of us, as we are serving the sacred, be able to honor each other. Hey, okay, you're doing something completely different than what I do, and I don't even maybe know what you do, but I know that you're devoted to the sacred, or that maybe one of us perhaps is more inclined, in a particular form of political activism, and another is more focused on, environmental activism, spiritual activism. It's this really, I think, having this honoring of what each person is here to serve, because we each have gifts. We are each pieces of the puzzle. We're each these threads, in this right here, that are coming together to really create a beautiful tapestry. And so, that's what feels really, really alive in that question that you've just asked.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. I love that when you said kind of turning towards each other, that really spoke to me. And you have been sharing a lot, in your different avenues of sharing really passionately about things that have been going on, like with Standing Rock and just with the election and everything. So I wonder, one thing that's up for me is how we can use our voices to give more voice to these causes, right? And to these other leaders as well. So tell me a little bit about how that has been for you. How has it been to use your voice and your audience, to share these messages that maybe some people don't want to hear, or maybe that are edgy? How have you been navigating that?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I actually get really emotional and moved here because I feel the power of that. I feel the power of what happens when we do come together to really share and create difference in the world. It's like that is what I feel, you know, I'm using my voice for, I'm using my heart for, to share, to be a voice for Mother Earth, you know, to be a voice for those that may not be able to share. That just like comes into me so deeply right now,
Mm.
because yeah, because my heart cares a lot. So wasn't expecting to bring these tears forward, but here they are. And
Mm.
I think it's really reflective, you know, of the deep emotions that each of us feel. You know, that there are, you know, that these are the tears of the earth. You know, these are the tears um, of separation that are calling to come forward into reconciliation and back into respect. You know, we are living at a time where, you know, we see where the decisions of our political leaders are being based on greed and fear. And so it's so like and when I follow that thread, you know, from like, okay, these choices have been made to support the greed of big corporations. This is one example.
Right.
That it's actually coming from from fear, from a deeper belief that, well, I won't have enough, um, and then I'm not good enough. Like that's the root of that, is in that fear. So I feel like when we go to act and when we go to pray, and either way, it's sort of the same thing. We're putting energy towards something and towards a change which we wish to see. It's like there's that fire that comes of like, that is unjust and that's not okay. You know, it's like that is this like Kali Durga energy of like, that is, you know, it's taking a stance, you know, for the immaturity that is happening, where particular people, and I don't think it's just one person, I'm saying people, and this is around the world, right? But we're seeing certain things coming forth into our awareness at a greater level right now. But this is happening and has been happening. It's like it's coming to a climax right now, where we see that, you know, at this point in time of this interview, you know, that the Dakota Access Pipeline, you know, was given a thumbs up and go ahead, and there are big still protests happening. There are still people who are standing, you know, on the front lines for this shift. And so whether we are, you know, in particular prayer or in direct action, you know, I feel that the impact is really created from when we are rooted in the place of love, when we are rooted in the understanding that, you know, it's like there has to be not only that like fierceness and that that's not okay, and, you know, hello, wake the fuck up, pardon me, but like that's the truth. And but then the other part of the truth is, it's like, oh, to have that understanding that those choices are actually made from a place of fear. So I'm going to go directly into the fear and I'm going to beam this with my love. And like, that is the prayer. It's like that we go right to the root, and that, you know, those that feel that there's not enough, that, you know, that there is enough. And my prayer is that we have connection with the earth, that we have connection with each other, because when there's that connection, you know, there's actually a relationship, you know, then we feel it inside of us, and we feel, and I say this with the earth, it's like when we can feel the earth, I mean, I feel the earth in all her glory when I look out and see right now the palm trees swing, and I see the flowers in bloom, and I feel the full moon's magic and medicine right now. It's like, if she is a living being, and if I'm seeing her being, you know, raped and pillaged and disrespected and dishonored, like I'm her daughter, and like I need to stand up for that, you know. So
Mm.
each and every one of us are her sons and daughters, and simultaneously this goes for us as brothers and sisters of the earth. And we see right now that, you know, all of the injustices that are taking place root from this place of separation. You know, you're different than me. You know, this is your belief, this is your color, this is your religion, and it's different from mine. You know, and me, mine is better. You know, it's like that's all rooted, the root of all of that is in separation. And so we're seeing clearly now outside of us all that's really lying in our human consciousness, all the fragmented places, all of the places that we may feel that separation, where we've been hurt, where we've been turned away, where we've been where there is still pain, that is being reflected around us. And I know that every single being on this earth, you know, has experienced pain, and who has, for them, I'm sure, you know, has had an experience where they have felt separate from, or not included of, or, you know, exiled. And so it's from those lenses then that we make up these beliefs like, oh yeah, I'm not good enough, or I'm too much, or I can't, or I won't, or there's fear. And like, when we come into the truth and the other side of that coin, it's like, actually, wow, we're all here together, and each of us have a same beating heart, the same blood, you know, runs through us. Essentially, we all have hearts and organs, and we're all humans, we're all sentient beings. Besides just humans, like, we're all sentient beings here, and that is sacred. So being in service to each other when we see another who, where there are injustices, and we can use our voice to speak up for that. You know, it's like, hey, that's not okay that you just said that, or that's not okay that, you know, that this person is getting a lower wage because they're of a different sex or a different color or a different religion. It's like, that place of equality and justice is really coming forth, I feel, from the hearts of so many of us right now, because it's needed. You know, it's so needed right now. And that's what we're living into. That is service to the sacred, when we can really use our voices and use our actions to serve each other.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I was really, really touched by what you said about going into the center of the fear and being the love. That really spoke to me. I'm wondering if you can say a little bit about the divine feminine and that theme of going into the darkness, because what I'm thinking about is like the cave of the heart or the cave of the womb, and how it's going deep into that unknown, those unknown places inside of us, which are where we're going to learn the stories of separation, or where we're going to learn how to heal them. So what does that bring up for you?
My life's work.
Yeah.
Oh my. So from the perspective that I see, that we're in a society right now that is based on that of the solar. And the gifts of the solar are so magnificent and vast. And I give so much thanks for that. Our Divine Father, our brothers, the shining sun, the power of consistency and stability and genuine love, and golden heart radiance, and safety. And that power is so prevalent and needed. And the divine masculine itself is going through a shift as well. No, actually, the divine masculine is whole.
Mm.
Masculine is coming through men now, where and it's come and so men are changing, men are awakening. And so I want to honor the masculine in that way. And at the same time, with your question of the divine feminine, that, you know, our society globally, you know, for the most part, has been operating in where everything's been based on the sun. And this looks like these aspects of accomplishing and of creating structure and systems and doing. And all of that is absolutely phenomenal. It's part of the creations of civilization as we know it, that we're a part of. And but there's also, we've gone out of balance with that because the feminine hasn't been honored. The feminine has, in fact, more blatantly been disrespected and dishonored and been abused and been raped and been condemned. And she is so needed right now because we can't just operate in this one way. We have to bring forward the power of the lunar. And the power of the divine feminine is, in this way that I speak of her, like the moon. So she is constantly shifting. She is sometimes like the sun in the full illumination of, in the brightness of her when she's, when she's completely full. But unlike the sun, who's always, consistent, that the moon shifts and the feminine shifts, and these are her gifts. Just as the solar gifts are in the steadiness, the lunar gifts are in the change, in the cycles, in the seasons.
Yeah.
So it's so needed right now for us to remember that inside of us as we look to the earth that changes through her seasons, as we look to the moon who changes in her phases, that we also change, and that we understand and know the power of that. I will say, like the waxing part of the moon, the part of us that as women, we're in our maidens and we get things done, and we activate and we do. And in the full moon, where we are in celebration and in the power of our love and our sexiness and the mothering and our giving. But what about the other part of the divine feminine, which is what you said, with the dark, the part that's the waning moon, or the waning phase into the dark? Like, this is where, this is the key. For me, this is the key for all of which we've just been speaking about, to really bring forth the needed change on the planet. So this is, for me, what gets so juicy about serving the sacred. So serving the dark feminine. And by that, we're speaking about, I'm really putting in the context of, dark isn't bad. Right. Oftentimes we associate, dark being bad. And I think that has so many negative connotations or effects. Negative effects. So putting this frame that, the darkness, think of the darkness is the womb. The darkness is the first thing we feel. We come into birth through the darkness. The power of the night sky with all of the stars that we see, the darkness in its essence is our home. It's our first beginning. And so within that darkness at this time, I believe, is where lies this potent medicine. In the dark, we get to actually what's the word I want to use here? We get to really, reframe what the darkness can be for us, and the power of the shadow, and how we can utilize the power of the shadow to actually create needed transformation on the planet. So that shadow, only happens with the power of that illumination, right? Because the sun, right? The sun is reflecting, to the moon always. And then when that illumination then is brought into the dark, it's like, okay, here's this whole other world of what's here.
Wow.
And there lies those places that we have put under the rug. There are our passions and our dreams that we said maybe one other day. Those also is the space where we've housed our pain, from feeling separate. That's the place where we've, have like a numbness in our in any wounding that we may have. So when we can go into the darkness and go to those places, go to the wounding, go to the gifts that we've negated from our own selves, and where we haven't given ourselves permission to actually feel, the places where when we experience trauma, there's like a holding and a numbness, and like, where is that stored? It's stored in the shadow. And so when we get to go into that shadow and then actually see what's there, there's messages and wisdom from, the voices of the dark, where it's like, yeah, my pain from the names that I was called, my pain from being raped, my pain from, an abortion, my pain from separation, my pain from, whatever pains these there may be in the shadows, that um, there's a voice that's there, which oftentimes can be, the voice of our inner child. It's like, and we need to listen to that,
Mm.
and honor this, and and if it's also something, a belief that we've been holding, from a trauma, it's like we get to honor that and listen to that and then go, hey, okay, like, your time here is been great. You've served me, and now you're ready for a shift. So that's the thing, is like, because the lunar power is cyclical, it's like it doesn't always have to stay in the dark. It's like it gets to come out and be rebirthed again too. And so I feel there's so much in the dark that wants to be rebirthed, and it's like it gets alchemized and transmuted into something else as
Mm.
as we bring that to light. So one example just being, any of the any of the fears that we may have to stand in our leadership, to serve the sacred. It's like, okay, well, what is that? Like, oh, I'm not a leader, or I'm not good enough, or my voice doesn't matter, or all of these things that we may be telling ourselves. It's like, well, we get to actually, with great courage, when we go into the depths and the journey of that dark, hear those voices and say, and then like have a conversation with them. It's like, actually, I'm with you, and the truth is this, and like, and have a real dialogue. Because when, and it's not just a dialogue that's here, but it's like, it's a feeling. When we have experienced any trauma, and there's a numbness that's there, what happens is that it's like our body's innate wisdom, then it needs to move, and that's the power of that cycle. So we get to free those parts of the darkness through movement, and sometimes that can look like tears, and sometimes that can look like rage, and sometimes that can look like dancing. But it's really giving that particular voice a sacred release. It's like, okay, if I'm serving the dark, then this is how I can serve you. I can serve this by shaking this through my body, allowing this energy to move through my body. I can bring this through in my voice and my poetry. I can use this, to serve other people who feel this pain or this injustice, and like, poof, give that new life. So it's like, these are the wild aspects of us. In the dark lies the sage, lies the wise woman, lies the enchantress, lies the wildness within us that is truly needed right now on the planet to come into wholeness. And so this is the juicy part of like, yes, let's honor these aspects and let's bring them forward. Let's bring that darkness into the light. And
Yeah.
that's what feels like is so, so powerful. And it's like that darkness too, those are those places then within our collective. It's like, okay, wow, now I'm not going to make these choices out of fear, which translates to greed, which translates, to negative effects for the earth. It's like, oh, I can make another choice. I have freedom to choose something else. And I have the freedom then to use my voice. I have the choice. And at this point on the planet right now, it's like, yes, it's all choice and free will. And yet we need you. We need all of our voices. We need all of us to go into the power of the dark. We need to go into, and dark also being like the inner landscape, also the quiet and the rest and the nourishment and just the beingness, which so many of us don't really value because we've been taught to just value doing and accomplishing and going. And so it's this aspect of, oh yes, our beingness and just actually connecting in presence is essential to our souls. And this is when we do this, our doing and our beingness, that is the sacred, and so being of service to that, to being the voice and doing, and also to listening and being, and merging those together, so that that third aspect can really create this incredible tapestry, which is service to the sacred. So there you go.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. What I really got from that, circling back to the micro and the macro, is that this micro commitment to being with our own darkness is what is going to translate into being able to experience more of the true heaven on earth outside of us. It's like no act is too small. No act of self-love, is really what's giving us the nourishment that we need to be able to use our voice. Right? Is that kind of what you were going for?
I'm soaking in that truth. That's really, really beautiful. Absolutely. I mean, I think that there can be a tendency for those that are committed, to leadership to burn out. And part of evolutionary, visionary, empowered leadership is to also be serving yourself. Burnout is not cool. And I think we're all learning that in our own ways, that it's not sustainable. And that, yes, take a bath on behalf of the world, because we need you. We need you nourished, and we need you rested, and we need you to be energized and vital, and to feel yourself in your wholeness, so that when you're full in your own cup, that you do have that energy to give and to offer. And if you're depleted and exhausted and agitated in those ways, well, how are you going to serve? You have nothing in your well to offer. It's dry. So we have to constantly be filling ourselves up to be able to really create impact in how we're here to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how, I want to hear more about what you are actually putting out into the world right now, but I first wanted to ask you about one thing that I'm so curious about, is how each woman that I admire so much, how can you tell me, I know it's not like one point or like one thing that happened, but tell me a little bit about how you discovered or agreed or really recognized like that you are divine and that you are worthy to serve the sacred, that you're worthy to use your voice. Tell me a little bit about that, if you can.
So beautiful. I love that. Oh gosh. Well, what comes to mind, I've been asked this before, but in different ways, and I was seeing if something new wanted to come forward. So maybe if you've heard this before, but it's really my experience. So it happened for me on January 1st of 2012, which is not all that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in India at Amma's ashram, and it was the beginning of this big prophesized year for the end of the Mayan calendar, and I really had felt this call to create a New Year's resolution ritual experience for women in the who are at the ashram. Because previously I'd been teaching different workshops at the ashram when I was there, and all of that goes through sort of to the big pool for Embracing the World, which is Amma's branch of worldwide charities. So it's a whole other subject. Yet it's interwoven because it was really in that experience that I was dedicated to serve. I mean, Alma's whole mission is to love and to serve. And she speaks about her religion being love and service, and that's truly my experience as well, which is why I resonate with her so much. And so it was in this time where the sea was just beside us, and it was the evening time of this first day of the year, knowing that in 12 months' time we were going to go forth into great transition. If we can put ourselves back to that time, remembering all of the buildup of 2012, the end of the calendar, and the shift in consciousness in which we are, this window of shift that we're going through on our planet and beyond. And so I remember being in this sacred, circle and workshop with women, and I had ideas of really what I wanted to offer them. And it was the first time that I really created something that was specifically for women in that way. And I just had a huge surge of energy come through me, which is love, divine light, the goddess, however we want to word this. But Amma's here, like 500 feet away from me, and it was really like the divine mother's energy coming through me, and I began to hear a voice. It was like, yeah, do this next, okay, and now do this, and okay, this. And it wasn't something that I had necessarily planned, but it was in it was like that inner voice of the goddess inside of what would really serve. And that's always been for me in that place of how can I serve, what is going to serve the group. That's always my mantra in my facilitation. So it's perfect for this summit. It's like serving the sacred. My sisters are sacred, I'm serving them, how can I serve them? And so it was really in this time that so much powerful energy was taking place, where we were burning away the old, and we were painting our rebirthing, and we were giving each other foot massages to take new steps into this next part of our lives. And it was really such a juicy and exquisite experience. And it was during that time that I recognized and knew it was like this pivotal point of like everything that had come before was now all of a sudden directed, and was like, okay, now this is the avenue. I am to serve women. I'm to serve the sisters in this way. I'm to serve the divine feminine in this way, like this, through this particular path. And then, that was revealed more and more about the specifics of what that actually looked like. And it made so much sense for me of where in my astrological chart, it shows, where the moon is, and where the spiritual teacher is, and my dharma. And it's just, it all began to unfold in this aha. And I didn't really ever have the thought of like, am I worthy enough for this? It was just like, I have to do this. There's no choice here. It's like, oh, okay, there's no hiding. Like, you've been given the download and it's time to go. So I, was like trusting, okay, the next steps will be shown. The next steps will be shown. And that was really such a huge time. And it's powerful. When you look at my astrology, it's like, it's really powerful to see the timing of everything. And and these sacred cycles.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. I actually hadn't heard that story, so I'm really glad you shared it.
I shared it a little bit differently now.
Yeah. Okay. So I love that you brought up timing, because I think that it is a big curiosity for a lot of people of what is my purpose, right? And how do I serve the sacred? So many women are probably listening and being like, well, I don't know yet, what my service is to the sacred. So I think Oh, there we go. Yeah, I think that the timing is really important. And so my personal message to a lot of women out there right now is it's okay to wait. Um, I think that in our astrology charts, there are openings for these, God moments, goddess moments, where we have that access to the information that we need. And until we don't have that yet and we don't feel clear, it's like, just love yourself and do the practices. Um, so what message do you have for women who are maybe waiting, for that wisdom and that certainty?
Oh, I so love this, because this is the wisdom of the feminine. This is the wisdom of our cycles. That just as the moon cycles, just as the sun cycles, just as the earth turns and spins in her cycles, we cycle too. We shift. We're in this spinning, this spiraling in this particular incarnation, in this life journey. And so each and every one of us has a unique blueprint of these cycles, and that in every cycle there are teachings and there are lessons and that there are initiations, and when you know. And I think part of the more solar aspect that maybe a lot of women may be feeling is like, okay, well, I want to step into this and I want to do this, but I don't know what this is yet, and maybe feel a pressure like I should, or I don't know what that is and so I can't, or maybe there's a numbing. And I think that it's really important, as you were beginning to share there, Karen, is that we have to lean in to the cycles. We have to lean in and rest in that lunar cycle of the light and the dark. We need to rest into our own personal cycles, whether that's, the month or the 3 months or the 4 years or whatever, particular cycle we're in. I'm a great fan of astrology, and Vedic astrology is so given me the insight and over the years to understand and see the blueprint of my soul and its cycles here on the earth. And so it's really trusting in these cycles. When we lean into that, it's all divine. It's all perfect wherever you are right now. There's no rush. And yet I'll say that there is an emergence right now. So that it's either we're ready, or it's like, well, we're all ready. We're all ready for whatever is our truth. And I think that it's really important that when you say that, it's like doing the practices, is that all is revealed to us from the inside, and that inside is the dark, that inside is our womb space, that inside is our heart. So the more that we listen into the power of our wombs, that we understand her, understand how she cycles, the more that we feel into our heart and just listen, all truly is revealed from within those quiet spaces, from that listening. That it's not something like, for me, I'll share, it's like, I didn't plan this.
Yeah.
Maybe, it's like my higher soul knows. Well, I believe that my higher soul knows, but me as a human, I didn't set out to say, okay, I'm going to go plan this thing now. It's like it was revealed to me from within. And that with anything that if with anything that we are serving the sacred, it comes from deep inspiration within. It comes from a place of purity. It comes from a place of humility. It comes from a place of, I open my heart and I bow down and I'm here to serve, and show me the way, show me how I can serve, and trusting in what comes forward to be revealed. Because if it just comes from the head, it's not going to have any power to it. It has to come from deep within us. And so it's my prayer and my sisterly advice, I would say, for the women that are especially, that are listening right now, that this part of you serving the sacred is to serve what is sacred to you right now, whether that is, tending to your garden, that is the earth being sacred, whether that is, giving your moon blood to your garden and to the earth, whether that is doing your yoga practice, whether that is, volunteering, at a hospice, whether that is being kind to the stranger in the street and bringing light to their day. It's like, whatever we can do to bring our love and devotion, or our devotion to love out into the world, it's like that is the practice. And
Mm.
as we do that, and as we offer these little, but they're not little, these big pieces, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
And so those next steps are going to be revealed, and to, I feel like to open yourself to trusting in that wisdom, and to listening to the goddess, asking for that clarity, asking for that, all will be given. So if that's your prayer, if that's what you're committed to serving the sacred in this way, and if you're listening to this, then I know that you are, because it's why you're here.
Mm.
To just really listen. And then when you get the call, there's no going back.
It's true. Oh, Achintya, thank you so much. So tell us a little bit about your latest devotion, your latest heart's offering, and how we can learn more about it.
Oh, okay. So I guess what feels alive and the most pressing, like the next coming, is our yearly Priestesses of the Moon training. This is training for women around the world. We do it virtually, so any woman can come experience this, any female identifying woman. But we really go into the depths of the moon mysteries and the blood mysteries through a set of initiations that have to do with the wisdom of each particular lunar phase. And so these are the phases that live in you, they're the phases that live in us all. And these are the ancient blood mysteries, these are the ancient teachings of Grandmother Moon. And so I'm in service to the moon in that way. And to bring forth her wisdom and her teachings and her magic to you, so that you can have your remembrance. It's like, I feel for me, I am the guide with this, and yes, I can be the teacher, but what is being shown is really the remembrance of your own innate wisdom, and that you have this blueprint inside of you, and it wasn't taught to you, at a young age, perhaps. And that it's like, oh, get to have this now. And it's really a powerful rites of passage.
Mm.
Um, and so, women that have gone through this program, some have gone through 3 times. We're going into our 4th year, and women have began to bleed when they haven't bled in 3 years, have healed traumas that have been the cutting of that. We have women who've been able to get pregnant when they couldn't, the lives so improved in their partnerships. I mean, all these sort of results that have taken place from really coming home to the womb is very, very real. And so we're going forth into our next journey from February 28th to April 18th in a global sisterhood of women from around the world. And simultaneously with that, it's like, if you feel the call, we're inviting the women who feel this, that want to bring the power of the womb and the remembrance of the moon and the blood to offer red tents and moon temples in your communities as a part of our Goddess Rising Moon Temple Collective. Then we have that training that is taking place in Ojai, California, and it's over summer solstice. It's a 9-day training, June 29th to the 27th. And Priestess of the Moon is the prerequisite. So for women graduates have already taken, it's like coming into this. But for the women that are coming in now, like, if you feel that call, it's like, okay, well, you got to walk through these gates of initiation with Priestess of the Moon first to have your own embodied experience. So that as you serve the sacred, you serve your sisters, you serve as facilitator, that you have your own empowered, innate experiences, so that you can offer that to other women. So they go hand in hand, and that's what's coming up very soon, and I'm very excited about it, because Yeah, it's so powerful. And yeah, other things will happen along the year with our retreats, and we have a quarterly membership for women, our Moon Sisters Temple, that will start again in April, and that's really this invitation to live the living wisdom of the moon. And what is taking place now as she changes and all her different signs and all her different wisdom in that way. So it's like Priestess of the Moon is this initiation into the blueprint, and then our facilitator training, to share with others. And then the Moon Sisters Temple is this continual sacred ritual space to be living this wisdom all the time with the astrological weather that is alive. So that's where my heart is pouring out. That's how I'm serving my sisters, all of you, in devotion to the moon and the goddess at this time.
Thank you so much, Achintya. Thank you for holding the spaces for so many women to have the direct revelations, of their own divinity and their connection to the goddess that they are. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. I feel deeply privileged and honored and blessed to be able to offer this, and to be in the power of sacred sisterhood together. And I feel so grateful to have had you welcome me in your wellspring of your heart's devotion, as you, Karen, are truly devoted to serving the sacred, to bringing heaven to earth. This is what our collective dharma is, I feel, at this time. So I really honor you for bringing forth all of us into this powerful conversation. Thank you so much, and bowing to you, your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Achintya. I hope that those listening have, found that remembrance that you speak of, and I hope that you continue to do this and take your baths too for for the sake of the world. Okay, goodbye, Achintya. Thank you so much.
Aloha.
Aloha.